Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. The ride says it all. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha, Conquer Outdoors.
I gotta be honest, I'm pretty excited. The vehicles we're shooting out today are two of the most popular and talked about on the market. The companies that produce them are number 1 and 2 in the industry. They reside in one of the most popular segments in the industry as well. These are, for lack of a better term, important vehicles and ones we get asked about all the time. People, you, our viewers, really want to know which one we think is best. And today, we're going to tell you. Today is the day we shoot out Polaris' Sportsman 570 SP and Honda's Foreman Rubicon 500 Deluxe. In typical Dirt Trax fashion, we're going to organize this shootout into 7 of the most important categories, which we think are power and delivery, braking, ride quality, handling, rider comfort, features, and value. There are 3 ways to look at how vehicles compare. You can base your comparison on what category the manufacturer says the vehicles are in, you can look only at their specifications, or you can focus your whole comparison just on the price. In this shootout, we're pulling a little from column A and a little from column C. From each company, these are the closest top-of-the-line models in terms of price that both are listed as being in the 500 to 600cc class. So let's get started and find out what's different about them, how they compare, and ultimately, which one we think is the better buy. First up, we're going to look at power and delivery. This category covers both the motor and transmission, and it's the area these vehicles differ the most by a long shot. The Rubicon is powered by a single-cylinder 475cc overhead valve motor that's mated to a dual-clutch transmission that offers both automatic shifted ESP mode and manual shifting via left handlebar mounted switches. This motor is strong for its size. There's definitely no problem with bottom end pull, and it does rev out well on top. The biggest downside to the engine is that it only makes 28 horsepower. On the bottom end, it feels like more. Up top, that number feels pretty accurate. Honda's DCT transmission is known to be the best, and honestly the only, automatically electronically shifted transmission in the business. It shifts buttery smooth, and gear changes happen quickly. In auto mode, we've always found this setup to be adequate for slower speed, more mellow trail riding. Once speeds rise, the transmission seems to always be shifting when you need power or in the wrong gear altogether. The strong bottom end of the Rubicon's motor plays well with the manual shift mode. Its meaty torque allows you to run in a tall gear and lug the motor. We found we never really use first. We pretty much always stick to second and third where things are tight on the trail, and third and fourth where things get more open. The Sportsman is powered by a 568cc dual overhead cam engine that's mated to Polaris' well-known CVT belt transmission. This motor makes excellent bottom end, but really pulls hard on top. It's listed as making 44 horsepower, which feels 100% correct in my seat of the pants testing. Polaris' CVT is as close as a belt transmission can get to being bulletproof. We've never had a belt failure on any of our Polarises here at Dirt Trax, and I've only ever spoken to a handful of people who have personally had belt issues. Most of the time, they're self-admittedly due to unreasonable abuse. The benefit of a CVT is that you're always in the right gear, and power delivery is always instantaneous. There are benefits to being able to hold a manual transmission in a specific gear, but everyone around here would take the CVT any day. More power and a more desirable and arguably simpler transmission are what pushed the Polaris to the category win in the power and delivery segment. Next, let's look at braking. This segment is going to be much shorter. The Rubicon uses Honda's standard dual braking setup with discs up front and out back. In the past, I would have said I absolutely do not prefer dual levers, but after riding the Honda and Polaris back to back, I've come to like them a whole lot more. The Sportsman is set up with Polaris' single lever braking system that squeezes hydraulic discs front and rear and automatically biases braking force front to rear. It's simple, it's easy to use, and it works. At the end of the day, this category is largely about personal preference. Both systems stop the bikes efficiently and quickly. Both systems offer good feel at the lever as well, but shockingly, at least for me, this category win goes to the Honda. Its dual braking setup offered a bit better feel and slightly better modulation. Next, let's talk about ride quality. Honda's Rubicon sits on a double A-arm style design and produces 7.3 inches and 8.5 inches of travel front and rear. Shocks are preload adjustable and ground clearance sits at 9.4 inches. This is the best suspension setup Honda has ever produced. It offers excellent front and adequate rear-end ride compliance over bumps both small and large. Ground clearance was never an issue. We'd like to see softer shock settings and lighter springs to soften things up even more though, especially out back. The Polaris also rides on double A-arms that produce 8.2 and 9.5 inches of travel front and rear. Shocks are preload adjustable, and ground clearance is a full 11.5 inches. The Sportsman ride is plush. Bumps, both big and small, disappear beneath the rider, and the preload adjustable shocks are set up just right for 99% of the places this ATV will get used. No one around here has ever had anything bad to say about the ride of Polaris' Sportsman 570. In this category, it's the clear winner.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
Our fourth category is handling. Now these bikes are an SP and a deluxe model, so they both include EPS. Both systems are expertly tuned and provide just enough assist without being too much. They also both include rear sway bars. The truth is, they both handle really well. The Polaris definitely has more body roll under hard cornering, which is likely due to softer suspension settings and longer travel, but you get noticeably more feedback from the wheels through the handlebars on the Honda, even despite its power steering. The win here has to go to the Polaris. Its EPS is tuned just that much better than the Honda, and overall it does handle just a tiny bit better. It's close enough though that we would endorse either of these as being a great handling ATV. Rider comfort is, if you really think about it, one of the most important categories of all. If an ATV does everything else perfectly but is uncomfortable to sit on, everything else matters a whole lot less. Honda's Rubicon is, to put it bluntly, an extremely comfortable ATV to sit on. The seat is soft and it feels thick. Floorboards are comfortable and the reach to the handlebars is spot on. All the controls are in logical locations. The throttle lever design is superb. The only thing we have to gripe about is the silly extra reverse lockout left brake lever. Why does this exist? It's not a huge deal, but it is annoying. The Sportsman is equally as well laid out. Reach to the handlebars, spot on. Floorboards, excellent. All the controls are in intelligent locations, but it is a long reach to the throttle lever with your thumb, especially for a smaller hand. Our biggest complaint here is with the seat. It feels like there's a plastic bar running horizontally across the middle of it. You can feel it all the time unless you sit way, way back. It's not something that can be easily overlooked because it's always there, and it, combined with the excessive throttle reach, is why we're giving this category win to the Honda. It's just more comfortable to sit on and engage with. Our second last category is features. Both of these vehicles are top-of-the-line models with all the bells and whistles. They both have painted plastics, trick aluminum wheels. They both have shiftable 4x4 with locking diffs, electronic power steering. The differences lie in the little things like the gauges. The Honda's is tiny and offers very little info. The Polaris's gauge is big and offers lots of info. They both have front and rear storage. The Polaris just has way more of it. The Honda has a hitch ball mount. The Polaris has a 1-inch hitch receiver. In terms of features, it only wins by a tiny margin, but the Polaris takes this category as well. We've now come to the final area of comparison. For some, it's the most important factor of all. For others, it will either explain a lot or leave a whole bunch more questions unanswered. The final category is value. I'm sure most people are saying, look, the Honda has less displacement, less horsepower, less travel. Of course the Polaris is outperforming it in most categories. I would call those people correct. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say the Sportsman 450 would be a closer competitor to the Rubicon than the Sportsman 570 is. But then you look at the price. The Sportsman 570 SP retails for $86.99 before any incentives or discounts. It makes 44 horsepower and tops out in the mid-60 mile-an-hour range. Honda's Foreman Rubicon 500 Deluxe has 28 horsepower and a top speed in the mid-40s. It retails before any discounts or incentives for $97.99. That's $1,100 more than the Polaris. If we were to compare the Sportsman 450, based strictly on specifications and performance, the difference in price would be over $3,500. So you can see our conundrum. The Sportsman 450 is actually a better competitor for the Rubicon in terms of specifications and performance, but it's nowhere near the same price. We chose to do this shootout with the 570 based on price and the manufacturer's classification of the vehicles. In this case, the Sportsman 570 SP is the clear winner, with a 5-category win to Honda's 2. But this is not to say the Honda isn't a great ATV. It's the best they've ever built in our collective opinions. But you simply can't ignore the fact that for $1,100 less, you get more power and performance, a better ride, better handling, and more features when you buy a Sportsman 570 SP.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Powersports, race-inspired performance.
Finally, we've reached the last few pieces of our mud racing project. This has been an incredible build, and it's really opened my eyes to just how big the mud racing community is and how much of a following it has. But before I can truly say that we're done, there's some important finishing touches that are going to add safety, increase drivability, and make the comfort level of a Project Mud Racer way, way better. And to start it all off, I'm going to ditch the stock handlebars, removing the controls and switchgear, and tossing them right in the trash. While adding an adjustable riser and a set of taper bars are going to add a huge level of comfort and drivability, my friends at Checo Racing make a steering stem strengthener that's going to ensure that your steering stem doesn't bend or break. This beautifully made 6061 billet aluminum brace is designed for all Gen 1 Can-Ams. It takes roughly 20 to 30 minutes to install and makes your stock steering stem 100% stronger. It allows for multiple bar location setups, rises the bar 13 mil, and will work with your stock or aftermarket bar designs. Note that if your Outlander or Rennie does have the power steering feature, you're going to need to bore the upper top plate hole to 28 mil from the stock 25 millimeters. The brace is designed to strengthen the hollow stock stem that can fail under hard steering loads, especially when utilizing four-wheel drive in harsh conditions with oversized tires and increased horsepower. And for us, that's a hat trick of reasons we went with the Checo Racing stem. As I said earlier, we're throwing away the stock bars, and that's because I prefer a tapered design that puts the bars right in the sweet spot for stand-up or sit-down riding, and this is especially true when you're racing. And when it comes to tapered bar designs and risers, Rox are the folks that you need to talk to. They make risers and bar setups for just about everything that has handlebars, so getting a fully adjustable, 2-inch pivoting aluminum riser linked to a set of their high-bend taper bars was super easy to spec right off their website. The riser carries a lifetime warranty, are made in the USA, and accept either a 7/8 or 1 1/8 bar. Now I like fat bars or 1 1/8 inch diameter tube, and these high bend bars have a 2.45 sweep with a 3.74 inch overall height. At the controls, the bars are 7/8, so everything fits back on, and all you need is a new set of grips to make your setup complete. Okay, well, maybe 1 or 2 more things. Keeping mud off your hands when mud racing can seem like a bit of a strange concept, but the truth is, when your hands get greasy, it's hard to hold on to a rig like this. And that's another area that Rox Speed FX can help out. While they offer solid plastic guards, they also offer totally custom FlexTech guards that are material on the outside with a flexible core that'll bend and flex but not break like most others. With over 2,100 custom choices, or 11 standard colors, you can custom build your guards to suit your style or just buy a stock set. I'm installing them with aluminum FlexTech mounts made out of 6061 aluminum and secured with a double bolt solid clamping design that's sure to stay put, keeping the mud off my hands and me in control. Oh, they look killer too and will match the finished wrap because these are custom. To finish it off at the bars, a waterproof rubberized fabric Rox bar pad cleans up the mounts and will add a bit of safety should things get a little out of control. While I'm talking about safety, I've never mud raced before, but looking at the footwell area, I thought there must be a better way than just to put a massive foot peg right down here and leave your legs open to the abuse of what's going to come at you. Also, I didn't want to put back on those huge, massive plastic stock footwells that just look like a sea of plastic. Full Throttle Powersports in Manitoba, Canada had my answer with their CNC laser cut and formed 10-gauge steel race series footwells. They offer a Bushwhacker series without the reliefs, but for racing, these are the hot ticket, offering ample clear out and drain in all situations. Plus, because there's no welds or seams, they are super strong, and with the black powder-coated finish, they're durable and good looking. It's important to note that they also add a huge level of safety protection, as the 29.5 Assassinators can throw some serious junk back at the wells, and stock plastic is about as safe as a tissue in a hurricane. With these, we know our legs are safe from intrusion, and when I mount up the Rox oversized 8-inch long by 3-inch wide utility foot pegs, we may not have much left at the bottom of our boots, but we aren't going anywhere, and keeping good traction even when it gets a little rough will not be an issue. Now that the mud racing build is finished from a performance standpoint, I'm excited to send it off to graphics and then get it out in the mud. We're only a few short weeks away from the full racing story where we're going to go for broke and put the mud racer to the true test.
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
On this week's test ride, we're going to look at an all-new but surprisingly familiar ATV from Yamaha. A huge seller for over a decade, the 450 Grizz/Kodiak disappeared just a few years ago. Let's sort something out here. For as many years as the Grizzly was sold in the US, it was known as just that, the Grizzly 450. In Canada, the 450 was known as the Kodiak. Thankfully, Yamaha has decided on the Kodiak handle for this new ride on both sides of the border. It's interesting to note Yamaha did not take the reintroduction of the 450 Kodiak lightly. The new Kodiak is virtually all new and represents a significant investment in both development and tooling. The original venerable 450 was clearly a small ATV, using a much smaller chassis than its Grizzly big bore siblings. The first thing you'll notice about the new 450 is its increased width and height. We think Yamaha was wise to bulk up the size of this second generation Kodiak. Can-Am's potent 450 Outlander and the Polaris Sportsman 450 are both full-size rides, and they both sell well. The most impressive dimensional change on the Kodi is its 3-inch increase in overall track width. This change has a profound effect on high-speed handling, particularly body roll. The new Kodiak feels exponentially more planted and can be backed into turns dragging the rear brake without the front inside wheel coming off the ground. In off-throttle turns, the new 450 stays equally flat with both front wheels on the ground. The original 450 Grizz was known for its tight trail nimbleness. This was mostly due to its relatively narrow stance. The new 450 is equally as capable in the tight stuff, yet is much flatter in off-camber situations. From an ergo perspective, the new 450 will make you forget the original in one short ride. The new Kodiak is roomy with larger running boards, a thicker, larger saddle, and better upper body ergos as a result of the improved handlebar position and handlebar steering arc. The new 450 feels more substantial, more stable, and is immeasurably more comfortable than the original as a result of its all-new, bigger chassis. It's interesting how narrow the new 450 feels in the floorboards compared to its main competitors. Yamaha has done a remarkable job making the entire 450 package fit a wider spectrum of riders. An immediate benefit of a wider chassis is longer A-arms, both front and rear. This dimensional change produces more and better quality wheel travel, allowing for a vastly improved ride. Rough terrain would often confuse the original Grizz 450's limited suspension travel, knocking the chassis off course and bouncing the wheels off the ground. This is replaced by a plush, well-damped, and bottomless feel through the bars, seat, and footboards. You can absolutely compare the ride quality of this new Kodiak to the smooth-riding Polaris and Can-Am 450s. From our perspective, at this point in time, Yamaha could have let off on the gas on the reinvention of the 450. All the areas we've covered here needed improving, and Yamaha has decisively nailed ride, ergos, and handling on the new Kodiak. For the record, Yamaha did not stop there. Although powered by virtually the same 421cc single-cam, single-cylinder mill, the new Kodiak gets its own electronic fuel injection system. EFI is commonplace in the off-road industry these days, and a renovated 450 should have EFI in 2017. However, this system is exceptionally well mapped, delivers quick, effortless startups, cold or hot, and consistent full throttle shift RPM. The other area of improvement has nothing to do with power. It's about NVH. The 450 engine gets redesigned rubber torsional engine mounts, which erase annoying vibes through the bars and seat, something the original Grizz was known for. Yamaha wisely chose to completely redesign the Kodiak 450's skin. This was required because of the all-new chassis. However, this redesign is tough, aggressive, and appealing. The new 450 is available with both electric power steering and sweet black aluminum wheels. Frankly, EPS is not considered optional by our critical test riders. The improvement in overall comfort and control with EPS on this relatively lightweight 450 is remarkable, and no serious ATV buyer should leave the showroom without it. The black aluminum wheels speak for themselves. You want them. Other important accoutrements on the new Kodi include shiftable 4x4, a readable digital display, large capacity wrinkle finish front and rear racks, and a hitch ball mount. Just one detail is missing and surprisingly not available: 4x4 diff lock. Yamaha has strategically attacked the 450 class with the reintroduction of the reinvented Kodiak 450. This all-new ride demands that serious 450 class buyers visit their Yamaha store and check out the all-new Kodiak 450. We mean it.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation, Can-Am, the ride says it all, and by Textron Off-Road, driven by the bold.
Thanks for watching this segment of Dirt Trax TV. For more great content, make sure you click the links or subscribe to our channel, where we're always updating with new content every day throughout the week.